When you think of pink hair waifus, you probably think of Zero 2, Chika from Kaguya-sama, Mine from Akame ga Kill, or even Yuno from Future Diary. But what if I tell you there was a waifu that stood above them all? A girl that is even better than all the girls in their life and just puts them all to shame. And I mean so good that she is even better than Maki and Nobara from Jujutsu Kaisen combined. And her name is Inori Yusuriha. Now you're probably thinking, who the fuck is that? And that's a normal reaction, don't worry, you're not going crazy, you are still a Chad. Inori is a character from this anime called Guilty Crown. Now I've seen a lot of reviews saying how this anime is similar to Code Geass since the main conflict is between this rebellion group known as Funeral Parlor fighting against an oppressive government that's doing bad things. But I found Guilty Crown to be more or less similar to Darling in the Franxx since both animes take place in a dystopian society. The main character happens to come across this mysterious girl by coincidence. A group of teens have to fend for themselves after being cut off from the rest of the world. Both have these weirdly odd shaped giant mechs with some very unique fan service, some of it obvious at times and questionable. And both managed to somehow fuck up their own story halfway through by making shit up as they went along. However, there's one big difference between these two. One makes the other look like a masterpiece of storytelling. Can you take a guess which one? That's right, Guilty Crown. And my god, was this show pure garbage. If you thought Darling in the Franxx ruined its own story with the ending, you haven't seen nothing yet. Watching Guilty Crown was just pure torture. It put a hate boner in me. I desperately wanted to stop watching this anime and go watch some actually good shows like Jujutsu Kaisen or Breaking Bad. I would rather get robbed for all my money than to watch another episode of Guilty Crown.
Motherfucker just took my money.
Hell, I'll even admit it, I would have rather watched SAO, including the fairy arc, than to sit through another agonizing minute of this anime. But for the sake of making this video, I had no choice but to strap myself in and watch this train wreck. And I hated every single minute of it because it felt like it just kept getting worse and worse.
You'll be fine. I'm king, remember? No one here can touch you.
Now this anime isn't exactly as horrible as I'm making it out to be already, it's just that it pisses you off because it throws so many things in your face that you don't have time to process any of it and leaves you looking like an idiot. This anime is desperately trying to be Darling in the Franxx and Code Geass at the same time and it just doesn't work. I am aware that Guilty Crown came out in 2011, but Darling in the Franxx is still miles better and a more enjoyable experience than this pathetic excuse for an anime. The premise of Guilty Crown revolves around futuristic Japan that is in a state of chaos after a virus outbreak that almost destroyed the entire country, and in an effort to maintain order, the UN created an organization called GHQ. We then meet our main character Shuoma, your average blind protagonist if you already can't tell from where he's sitting in the classroom right next to the window, who just wants to live a quite simple life until he comes across this mysterious girl who happens to be part of the rebellion. And this meeting between him and her will ultimately change the course of his life as he by accident acquires his new ultimate power that allows him to reach into people's hearts and pull out a weapon that is known as a void. And these voids are unique to everyone based on their personality. Now having this power, Shu is forced to join Funeral Parlor as he no longer is able to live a peaceful life since he practically is now considered a fugitive. Now Shu isn't exactly what you would call a great character because this man gets used like a fleshlight by everyone.
Kentucky Fried Coochie, baby. Look at that!
He gets manipulated by his friends, his mom, the rebellion leader Guy, even his love interest Inori just smacks him around like a used condom. His character development is like a heartbeat monitor. Just when you think he's finally getting his shit together and learning from his mistakes, he just forgets and starts acting like a coward. The only reason why he even bothered joining Funeral Parlor in the first place was to sing for Inori. He was willing to sell out Guy and the entire rebellion for getting some coochie. This dude is down bad astronomically. Even the other characters call him out on his bullshit because he can't decide on what exactly he wants to do. This dude brutally kills 40 people in the beginning of the anime, and the second he kills a guy he has met an hour ago who he had no emotional attachment to, he starts acting like a pussy, and even the other characters call him out for it because he needs to get his shit together. The one thing that really frustrated me most about his character was his trust issues. If I told this dude to let me $10,000 out of his own pocket and I promised him that I would pay it back later, no questions asked, he would gladly give it to me. Then 3 months later, he's living out of a cardboard box. Inori and Shore given a mission with tracking down a friend of his who they think might snitch on him because he's helping Funeral Parlor, but the second they find him, Shu decides to let him go because they are friends, even though he's faking being friends with Shu. But screw friendship, throw that thing right into the garbage because he turns him into the government anyway. In the second half of the anime, he convinces Shu into becoming a tyrant and create a ranking system based on how powerful people's voids are, only for him to stab him in the back again along with all of his friends. What great friends they are. Even when Shu turns into a badass cool guy, you can't help but get pissed because he is letting himself get manipulated again by everyone, and he never once thinks for himself. The reason why I like Hiro from Darling in the Franxx was because every time he came across a new conflict, he faced it head on because he knew knew that no one else was going to solve it for him. Even when the most messed up things happened to him or when he was on the verge of death, it didn't stop him from running towards that goal he had in his mind. His motivation for wanting to ride the Franxx with 02 was not a selfish goal, but rather he wanted to show everyone that he could also be useful to his team and help his friends when they were in trouble. Hiro did not let others tell him what to do and was always worried about others' well-being. Right from the very first episode, you'll get an idea of what kind of person Hiro is and you immediately take a liking to him. Even Lelouch from Code Geass was his own person with a goal in his mind, to defeat Britannia and create an ideal world where his sister could live in peace. Objectively speaking, I say that both Hiro and Lelouch are better characters than Shu. Shu never grows as a character and his character development always revolved around the same theme. How can we manipulate Shu into doing what we want him to do? None of the characters really give a shit about him, they only care about him because of what he can do with his power. You would think that at some point he would smarten up and not let himself get manipulated or betrayed by people. Well, that never happens. He lets himself be used as a punching bag by everyone else. And that brings us to Inori. Inori is the most bland and boring female character I have ever seen. She makes Sakura from Naruto look like a masterpiece who actually does something useful, and that's a compliment to her. You never know why she does the things she does, let alone why she even fights for the rebellion in the first place. It's not even clear if she even likes Shu because at first you're led to believe that she fell in love with him when she comes to break him out of jail, but it turns out that guy basically told her to fake her love for him so Shu could be easy to manipulate. But regardless of that, Shu still stands for her and cares about her. He's the equivalent of a guy that gave away his life savings for a cup of bathwater. She initially comes off as a mysterious anime girl that you think she has some dark secrets that she's hiding from everyone else that we will eventually explore, but no, you never learn anything about her or what she's thinking. Okay, we do learn something about her later on in the story, but like, it's the dumbest backstory to a character you will have ever heard of. Shu also first came off as a mysterious anime girl, but she spoke what was on her mind and contributed to the plot overall. She knew what a kiss meant between two people, what it means to love someone. All this contributed to the development of the other parasites and how they interacted with one another. Her character was intriguing because we were questioning how she knew all this stuff that Squad 13 was familiar with, and her interactions with them, especially Hiro, also added to her personality and made us like her. The relationship between her and Hiro did feel genuine as they both came to understand each other and had meaningful moments together. When we reach the climax of the story, it does feel earned as both 02 and Hiro are finally able to express their feelings for one another and come to accept each other for who they are. She goes from this hostile person who did not care about others to a friendly, loving, and cheerful person that is finally able to accept herself for who she is and comes to care about others, even willing to fight to protect them. Now when we look at Inori from Guilty Crown, there is nothing special about her. She never changes. She's the exact same character all throughout the anime. You never know what the hell she's thinking. In the second half of the anime, when Shu turns into a tyrant and he starts treating everyone like tools for him to use, you never once know if she's okay with what he's doing or if she still loves him. The relationship between Shu and Inori feels fake because they have this weird and awkward chemistry between each other that the anime tries to make it look romantic, which just comes off as stupid. So far, the premise of Guilty Crown has been simple. A group of rebels are trying to free Japan from the oppressive rule of the GHQ, or at least that's what the story is supposed to be about, which brings us to the epic climax of the anime, that halfway point where all the secrets of the virus and the characters are revealed, and this is where things get wild and stupid. Now walk with me and let's take a trip down memory lane and look back at Darling the Franxx. Do you all remember how the story was leading up to a huge battle between the humans and the blue monsters that will ultimately decide the fate of the world, and then like 5 seconds later it turns into Avengers level threat, 02 turns into a freaking mega sword, Star Wars fights, the Coven from Halo show up, a few Evangelion references. My point is that shit just started happening because why not? Now let's take that ending and stick it into Guilty Crown but make it 10 times more worse and confusing as hell. Out of nowhere, this anime turns into Doctor Strange and they travel through like the dark dimension or something after this kid kidnaps Inori. And I'm sure this kid's probably ditching school to play with the grown-ups and act like a cheap villain. And I say act because he comes off as an edgy teenager going through a freaking phase. But anyway, this is where we learn a big secret about Inori. Turns out that Inori, the girl that Shu has been sipping for, is actually a clone of his sister called Mana, who is actually patient zero of the apocalypse virus. The villains, if you can even call them that, want to awaken Mana from her sleep to start another pandemic that will restart the human race, but in order to do that, this old dude must make Mana his wife so she can wake the hell up. Also, the rebellion leader guy happens to be one of his childhood friends who wants to kill Mana because it turns out that she's crazy, and I mean really crazy, like you know from Future Diary that she was willing to kill Guy if it meant she can marry Shu. Also, Mana has the power to control the virus and was the reason that the pandemic started in the first place, kind of like a Resident Evil villain. I think it was around this point where I thought I just got lobotomized by the anime itself but was not aware of it yet because shit just started to not make sense anymore. It was like opening Twitter and instead of seeing positivity or something really wholesome, I'm mistaken greeted by the council cock. I feel like halfway into the anime the writers realized that oh shit, this feels like a copy and paste of Code Geass and just start making shit up on the spot. I swear they probably started throwing the ball in the boring room shouting out random ideas. Oh, how about we put in zombie robots? Brilliant. Oh, how about we make references to Evangelion? Not a bad idea. Me, I have a good idea. How about we include calm vampires? My point is that nothing makes sense, and it was clear that the story was not being set up for any of this, and the ending isn't any better. You think it can't get any worse, but oh my god, it somehow does get worse. Now originally we were told that Guy's motivation for fighting GHQ was to free Japan from their rule. He was a man that everyone respected because he fought for something meaningful and gave inspiration to others to keep moving forward if they wish to have a bright future. He's kind of like Erwin Smith from Attack on Titan. Well, that was all like because out of nowhere, a guy who previously killed himself along with Mana by disintegrating returns. How he returns is as mysterious as how Emperor Palpatine returned in The Rise of Skywalker. We never get an explanation. Turns out that his whole reason for fighting against GHQ was not to free Japan from their oppressive rule, but rather he wanted to be the king of the world.
I'm the king of the world!
Then we get this one big final battle between Shu and Guy fighting for world peace, or at least that's what the battle is supposed to mean, because Shu realizes the guy has turned into a cheap Lee Luch and must kill him. How his dead achieves world peace does not make any sense whatsoever. You're supposed to accept it. You get hit with 15 different plot twists that you eventually just don't care anymore and just stop paying attention. That's the thing with this anime, you're supposed to accept everything that happens with the story, just shut off your damn brain and enjoy. Towards the end of the show, you're fooled into thinking that many of the characters they have some type of development, such as the reason why Inori loves Shu, and that is because he showed her what it means to be human as he saw him suffer, get manipulated by everyone and got to experience love. The only problem is that it does not feel earned. You don't really care about the characters up to this point because the anime never really made you care about them in the first place. They all do have some cool moments, but because the anime is rushing and slapping you in the face with so many things at once, you don't have time to genuinely care about any of them. The one big difference that makes starting the Franxx better anime is that it at least has some kind of plan for its story. It knew what it was doing and where it was heading with its story. If you disregard the last few episodes, I'm going to pretend they don't exist. This made apparent in episode 13 where our expectations were subverted. The build up to this episode actually felt earned as it deepened the relationship between Zero 2 and Hero, and we learned the reason why Zero 2 was doing the things she was doing. And overall made us emotional for both of them. It had us buying enough to know what was going to happen next. Most of the episodes in the beginning of the anime focused on either one or two characters, which gave them an opportunity to shine on their own. We got to explore every member of Squad 13 and see what their motivations or goals are for fighting. One episode was dedicated entirely about Sorome and his dream of becoming an adult. The episode itself made us care about him as a person while at the same time focusing on world building. It's an episode that really gives you a sense of the world they live in. While the ending may not have lived up to everyone's expectations or felt like a disappointment to most, there is one thing that it managed to do: make you care about the characters. Watching these characters grow was an emotional ride, and the final moments between Hero and Zero 2 was quite bittersweet. I still managed to accept it. Guilty Crown is a beautiful train wreck that has nothing great to offer nor any interesting ideas. There was a lot of potential with the story and looked promising within the first few episodes, but no, the story goes downhill immediately and it does not get any better. The only thing you are guaranteed when watching this anime is that whatever happens next is gonna be stupid. What carries this anime mostly is the visuals, music, and action scenes. The music is composed by the god himself, Hiroyuki Sawano, so you already know the music is gonna slap. There are many action-packed scenes in this anime that make up for the shitty story and are really cool to watch. There's this one really awesome scene where Shu goes wacko mode on everyone while at the same time the music plays in the background that makes you feel really hyped up. The animation was the only good thing that I managed to like about this anime. There are a ton of beautiful cinematic shots that hold up even to this day. Alright, if I had to give this anime a score, I would give it a 72% or a C-. Now would I recommend you to go watch this anime?
Hell no!
I can't look at you with a straight face and recommend you to go watch this anime. It's not worth it, especially when you put it in between Code Geass and Darling the Franxx. Most of you would choose to go watch Code Geass immediately. But hey, if you got nothing to watch at the moment and want to know what it feels like to watch a bad anime, go for it. Alright, I've already dragged out this video for too long already. I could sit here for another 5 minutes talking about everything else that's horrible about this anime, but I won't, because just talking about this anime is painful and I want to forget about it already. Alright, if you made it to the end of the video, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, drop a like. Also go check out my previous video about romance anime that many of you have never heard of. But yeah, thanks again for watching and peace out.